Hello friends, this is Dr. Ranjani from Department of Biotechnology, Maharani Science College, Mysore. Today we learn about microbial growth kinetics. Studying the growth of the microorganism is very important in biotechnology for the production of desired products by exploitation of the microorganisms or the microflora. These desired products includes microbial enzymes, single cell protein, microbial flavors, colorants, antibiotics. So these are produced by the microorganism by exploiting the microorganism using biotechnological approaches or by culturing the microorganism under different culture conditions. The optimized microbial growth depends on the availability of the media constituents. These microbial bioproducts can be, or these bioproducts can be produced by enzymatic fermentation as well as microbial fermentation. Let's see what are the differences and the advantages of microbial fermentation over the enzymatic fermentation. Enzymatic fermentation, here enzymes are very specific to the substrate. But in case of the microbial fermentation, not much substrate specification is there for the microbial growth because microorganisms are ubiquitous in their distribution and they require very cheap raw materials. Enzymatic fermentation requires particular pH and the temperature. But microbial fermentation, microorganisms, they grow in a range of temperature or the pH. So they will show the optimum range. Within that we can grow the microorganism. And in case of the enzymatic fermentation, specific substrate is required. But in case of the microbial fermentation, we prepare the media and this media contains the carbon source, nitrogen source, minerals and vitamins which act as the cofactors. So this media will be formulated based on the growth requirement of the microorganism and they usually prepared with the cheap raw materials. The carbon source includes the molasses or the starch like that. The nitrogen sources will be added in the form of ammonium salts will be supplemented in the media. When we are preparing the media, we should be very careful and this media has to be sterilized before inoculating the microorganism. So we should be very sure that only our desired microorganism is growing here. And these are the advantages of the microbial fermentation over the enzymatic fermentation. How the microorganisms divide or they grow. They grow by binary fission, budding, fragmentation, and spore formation. First, we'll take up the binary fission. This binary fission here, the cell enlarges transversely and the nuclear material replicates and the cell enlargement again proceeds further and the replicated DNA gets separated and at the center of the grown enlarged cell there is a cross-wall formation. The invagination of the plasma membrane takes place and this deepens and the cross-wall will be formed between the two cells at the center of the cells and these two cells get separated by the formation of the septa or the cross walls and by single cell you'll get the two daughter cells and these two daughter cells will be having the genetic composition as that of the parental cell. Next is budding. It is it will be observed in case of the yeast cells and other microorganism. Here what happens, the cells mature and the microorganism nucleus will start moving towards the one side of the cell and this movement protrudes the cell membrane and the cytoplasm and due to which we will find the development of the extra growth on the surface of the cell membrane and to this region the cytoplasm enters and the DNA material or the genetic material will replicate and the newly synthesized genetic material will be moving towards the newly formed cells or the protruded cells and this protrusion deepens and the cell membrane will separate the single cell into two cells. So here also the daughter cell will receive the replicated DNA or the genetic material. So this is also one method of microbial cell growth where one cell is divided into two cells. Next is fragmentation. Apart from single cellular microorganism, we also have the filamentous microorganism where the cells are placed one after the other. Here, the cells, each cell gets separated from the matured filamentous, and each cell will be forming the next fragment and a next filament, and that will grow and develop into mature organism. This is also one method of cell division by the microorganism. And next is the spore formation. The when there is a extreme unfavorable climatic condition, the cells show or they'll undergo the resting phase and they form the spore, and these spores can withstand the extreme environmental condition. And when there is the appearance of the favorable condition, these spores, they ruptures and they grow and they multiply. So these are the different methods of the cell multiplication or the cell division observed in microorganisms. After the cell is grown, how we will be measuring the microbial growth? So this can be done by the microscopic method. In this method, we will grow the microorganism in the liquid, that's called as suspension culture, or else in the solid media. So on the solid media, if you grow it, you scrape out the microorganism, prepare the suspension, and load around 0.1 ml or 100 microliter or less than the 100 microliter suspension on the microscopic slide, which is having the gridded line. And this is called hemocytometer, in which you place the microorganism, above which you place the cover slip without forming any air bubble, and you observe under microscope. So this is microscopic method. Next is plate count method. Here microorganisms will be grown and then they will be inoculated on the plate. Around 0.1 ml of the suspension is inoculated on the 0.1 ml or 10 microliter, 20 microliter, 30 microliter, depending on the concentration, how you have inoculated the microorganism or how you have grown the microorganism. You take that suspension, definite volume of the suspension, and then you spread it on the media plate. Allow the plate to grow for 16 hours. After that, you place it in a plate counter where it is having the light source at the bottom and the place for keeping the microorganism plate, and then you can count the number of cells. The main disadvantage of the plate count is if the two cells are very close to each other, this will be considering those two cells as the single cell. So that is the disadvantage of the plate count method. For that, next we'll go for the serial dilution method. Here also we can count the microorganism. Here, grow the microorganism and you dilute the microorganism suspension in 1:10, 1:100, 1:1000, 1:10,000, like that. After you dilute the microorganism, you take around 0.1 ml from each dilution, and then you inoculate on the or spread it on the microbial plate or the culture plate. Here the microorganism, they grow, and depending on the dilution, you'll get the colonies. If the dilution is less, you'll get more colonies. If the dilution is more, you'll get less colonies. For example, in case of the 1:10 diluted plate, you'll get more number of cells compared to 1:1000 diluted or 1:10,000 diluted sample plates. So like that, you can count the number of cells in 1 ml of the solution. So here you are taking only 0.1 ml of suspension on the media and then you are growing it. After that, you are calculating amount of cells present in the 1 ml of suspension or 0.5 ml of the suspension what you have prepared. So that can be calculated like it is the number of cells in a plate into dilution factor. That will give you so many number of cells in the 1 ml of the suspension. So this is regarding serial dilution method. Next is turbidometric method. Here, this entirely depends on the absorption of the light in the 600 to 660 nanometer wavelength. You prepare the media and you will inoculate the microorganism. Initially, when media is not inoculated with the microorganism, the media will be very clear. But as we inoculate the microorganism utilize the substrate and they grow and they multiply. And when you when you take this media suspension with the microorganism in the cuvette, and when you place it in the spectrophotometer, when you pass the light, in the range of 600 to 660 nanometer, the cells which are there in the media, they absorb some portion of the light, and the remaining light will scatter. If we just imagine this is the incident light, which is having the intensity of I naught. So imagine few cells are there. So if you imagine this is the 100% light which is falling on the cells. So I naught will be 100%. After that, the cells will absorb some amount of light. The scattered light is not equivalent to I naught. It would be less than the I naught. So that is considered as capital I. So I naught will be more because it is the whole light which is falling on the sample or the sample media containing microorganism. Now the microorganism will absorb the light. The remaining incident light will scatter. The scattered light will be measured in the spectrophotometer, and depending on the number of cell, the absorption, if the number of cell increases, absorption increases, and the if the number of cells which are there in the media are less, the absorption decreases. So this I naught will be more compared to I. So the clarity of the media, or when you inoculate the microorganism, the clarity of the media decreases, that is turbidity of the media increases. So the media will look little sort of turbid. So this turbidity will be used for measuring the growth of the microorganism. So this is a physical property which will be used for the determining the growth of the microorganism. Next is nitrogen content. We all know the cells are proteinaceous in nature, and inside the cell we find the nucleus which is having the genetic material. The proteinaceous part of the cell is made up of the monomeric units called the monomeric units amino acid. These amino acids are bifunctional biomolecule having the NH2 and the COOH functional group. This NH2 is having the nitrogen content. Apart from that, the cell nuclear material is made up of nucleic acid that is also having the nucleotides. Nucleotides are also having the nitrogen in their structure. So the nitrogen content of the microorganism will be used to assess the growth of the microorganism. So the nitrogen content will also be used to assess or identify the growth of the microorganism. Next is dry weight method of measurement. This is repeatedly used in the laboratory. Dry weight method is weight method estimation is more appropriate than the wet weight determination. Here, inoculate the microorganism in the suspension or the liquid media and allow it to grow. After the microorganism is grown, the suspension will be centrifuged at 4 degrees centigrade, and now the cells will pellet at the bottom, whereas the suspension will be there in the supernatant. Then decant the supernatant, take the pellet, and this pellet will be dried, powdered, and it will be wet. So these are the different methods where we can measure the growth of the microorganisms. Next, so now we learned about the different methods of growth in the microorganism and different methods of cell growth measurement. Now we'll move on to the microbial cell growth types. How the microorganism growth can be classified. The mode of cultivation can be of 3 types. This is entirely based on how we are supplementing the nutrient into the bioreactor, into the ferment. The microbial cultures can be cultured in closed environment or in the open system. In closed system, this is called as batch culture system. Here you have the fermenter. In that you have the sterilized media with all the pH sensor, temperature sensor, everything will be attached to that. I think you all know about the basic structure of the fermenter. Inside the fermenter, we have the media. The media will be sterilized and then to that we will be inoculating the microorganism. If you are feeling difficulty in imagining the fermenter, you can also remember, or you can imagine the conical flask. Imagine 250 ml conical flask. In that we have prepared the 200 ml media that has been sterilized. After it is sterilized and cooled, we have inoculated the microorganism. Here, once the microorganism is inoculated in the limited volume of the media, further there is no supplementation of the media. So within that itself, the microorganism will utilize the nutrient available in the conical flask, and then it will die. So this is a sort of closed system. It is called as batch culture. Next, in contrast to that, you have the continuous culture. It is an open system wherein fermenter will be built in such a way that there is a option, or there is a possibility to remove the used media. The used media is called as the spent. It's an open system in which there is intermittent supply of the nutrient inside the fermenter. The fermenter will be designed which is having the inlet where the media enters. At the same time, there will be outlet to remove the used media or the spent. And the same concentration or the same volume of the media will be maintained within the bioreactor by removing the spent and by adding the same volume of the fresh media, fresh sterilized media inside the fermenter. This is called as continuous culture. In between these two, batch culture is closed system. There is no supplementation of the nutrient. Continuous culture is the open system. There is intermittent supply of the nutrient. But in case of the fed batch culture, here to the same fermenter or to the same conical flask, intermittently we add the nutrient. Intermittently we supplement the fresh media, but there is no removal of the spent. Hence it is called as fed batch culture. It is called fed batch culture. Usually for the secondary metabolite production, we use the batch culture. And for the large scale production of the metabolites continuously by maintaining the continuous growth phase or the exponential phase, we go for the continuous culture. So here in the continuous culture, the removal of the spent may be depending on the essential nutrient concentration or maybe on the turbidity which is maintained inside the fermenter. So that will decide whether to remove the spent to draw the fresh nutrient medium. When you inoculate the microorganism into the media, and if you want to determine the cell concentration or the cell number, we take the absorbance at 600 nanometer or 600 to 660 nanometer, and we will determine the growth of the microorganism. If we plot the number of cell on the number of the cells on the y-axis and the time on the x-axis, you will get a curve like this. You're taking the number of cells on the y-axis and time on x-axis. When you plot the values, what you take it at different time intervals, you'll get a curve like this. So this curve will be having the different phases. The first phase is called as the lag phase. Lag phase followed by exponential phase. This is also called as log, L-O-G, log phase, or it is also called as growth phase. It's also called as growth phase. Following that, we have the stationary phase where you have the plateau level or the flat surface of the graph, or the same absorbance will be maintained for time duration, that is called as stationary phase. Following that, the absorbance decreases and this is called as the decline phase or the death phase. Decline phase or the death phase. Now we'll learn what are the factors which will influence the different phases of the cell growth. Lag phase. Here you have prepared the media at time 0. You have prepared the media and you have sterilized the media. Now it is cooled and it is ready for inoculation. Now at time 0, when you inoculate the microorganism, as soon as you inoculate the microorganism into the media, they'll not multiply, they'll not divide, because the cell has to get adjusted to the new environment. It has to prepare the essential enzymes, essential proteins, essential nucleotides. So all the prerequisites which are necessary for the cell to undergo cell division has to be prepared by the cell. So it will take some time. So it will not be exactly zero. It will be little above the absorbance will not be zero. It will be little more than that because we have inoculated the few cells inside the medium. So corresponding to that, whether you have inoculated 4 or 5 cells or 10 cells, corresponding to that you will get the absorbance. The length of the lag phase varies. So the factors are like the type of the media you are using, then it also length of the lag phase depends on the phase of the cell which is being inoculated in the microorganism, and also the number of cell. For example, you have selected the cell for inoculation in the stationary phase. So here the cells already reached the stationary phase, and there will be the number of dead cells and the viable cells will be equal. So here the cell growth, the cells will not multiply, only cells will be viable. If you put such sort of cells inside the fresh sterilized media, it will take time, it will take long time to get adjusted to the media. So though the media component nutrients are rich, the cells will not divide as soon as we inoculate into the media. Suppose if we are taking the cells from the exponential phase, this is the log phase where the cells are actively dividing, and when you inoculate such cells inside the freshly prepared media, then the length of the lag phase decreases. In addition to that, if you are inoculating the cells from nutrient rich media to less nutrient media, then also the length of the lag phase increases, because the high nutrient media, from the high nutrient media you are transferring the cells into the less nutrient media. So that is also will make the cell has to put more effort to synthesize the necessary prerequisites to undergo cell division. So those are the factors which will influence the length of the lag phase. To have the very short lag phase, inoculate more cells which are there in the exponential phase. Try to maintain the same nutrient or in the media where you are inoculating or subculturing. So that is called as the lag phase, and the factors which will influence factors which are influencing the lag phase, length of the lag phase. Next comes the exponential phase. Here the cells are matured, they are not dividing, they are growing, they are synthesizing the prerequisites, enzymes, proteins, nucleotide for cell to undergo cell division. Now after that the cells start utilizing the nutrient and it will divide. Rapidly it will divide because the substrate concentration or nutrient concentration is too high, so that the number of cell increases in an exponential way, due to which the absorbance increases. And as the cell divides and utilizing the nutrient, when the substrate concentration in the batch culture is completely utilized by the microorganism, when there is depletion of the nutrient in the fermenter or in the conical flask, now the same number of cells will be there. They will not divide, they'll not multiply, instead they will be viable. In early stationary phase all the cells will be viable. After that, in the fag end of the stationary phase, you'll find the number of viable cell will be equivalent to the number of dead cells, and these dead cells will provide the source of nutrient for the growing or the viable cells. So that's why you'll get the same plateau absorbance will be will be obtained. That is called as the stationary phase. Still, if there is no supplementation of the nutrient, then even the some viable cells which are there in the stationary phase, they start dying, and hence they settle at the bottom, and the absorbance of the media decreases, and this curve comes down, and this is called as the death phase or the decline phase. So you have lag phase, exponential phase or the log phase, stationary phase, and then death phase or it is decline phase. So from here to here you can expect the cell growth or cell division, but after that we cannot expect the cell to divide because the nutrients are completely utilized by the microorganism, and essential nutrient will be depleted in the fermenter, and hence the cell growth ceases. Here, the biomolecules or the metabolites which are produced by the microorganism in the log phase or in the growth phase, they are called as primary metabolites or also termed as growth associated metabolites. So these are very important for the microorganism. This includes amino acids, enzymes, nucleotides, etc. They are very essential for the growth and development of the microorganism. After that, when the cell enters the stationary phase, when the cell feels the depletion of the nutrient, that is the adverse condition for the growth of the microorganism. In that condition, and also after the fag end of the stationary phase, to withstand the extreme environmental condition, the cells start producing very small concentration of group of metabolites. These are called as secondary metabolites, and they are also termed as non-growth associated metabolites. And these non-growth associated metabolites are not necessary for the cell for its growth and development, but if the cell feels like this is the metabolic pathways which are very essential for metabolic pathways which are producing the secondary metabolites are very essential for the survival of the microorganism, the cell machinery itself will convert this secondary metabolic pathway into primary metabolic pathway. So these secondary metabolites includes antibiotics, flavonoids, pigments, etc. So these will be having the pharmaceutical importance in the human life. So now you learned different phases of the cell growth and what are the factors which will influence the different phases of the cell growth, and primary metabolites and secondary metabolites, how are they produced. Now, when you grow the microorganism at time 0, imagine we are inoculating one microorganism, one bacteria is inoculated in the medium. After just imagine this is an E. coli cell that is inoculated into the media. After 20 minutes, this one cell will be dividing into two cells. It will form the two daughter cells. So this generation is called as generation number 1, first generation. And the time required for the single cell to produce the two daughter cell is called as the generation time. So after again 20 minutes, the two cells will become 4, then 8, 16. So first generation 2 cells, then second generation 4 cell, third generation 8 cells. So that can also be represented. So one cell at the generation number 1, or it is the at the time of inoculation, at the time 0. So number of bacteria is 1. So in the first generation 2 to the power of 1, 2 cells will be formed. Next 2 to the power of 2. Like this, with the increase in the generation, even the number of cells will be increased in exponential way, and at nth generation, there will be 2 to the power of n cells will be there in the fermenter or in the conical flask where you are conducting the experiment. So after n generation, number of bacteria will be n is equal to 1 into 2 to the power of n. 1 because initially at generation 0 we have inoculated one microorganism. So that's why n is equal to number of cells is equal to 1 into 2 to the power of n. But assume if number of bacteria at time 0 is n naught. Instead of 1, we are just imagining that at time 0, at generation 0, we are inoculating n naught cells. Then number of cells will be equivalent to n is equal to n naught. Instead of 1, I am just writing n naught. N naught into 2 to the power of n. If you apply logarithm to base 10, then it will be log n is equal to log n naught plus n into log 2 to base 10. Now n is equal to 3.3 into log n minus log n naught. So number of cells at particular time duration at particular generation minus initial number of log of initial number of cell multiplied with 3.3. So many cells will be there, or so many generation. You can identify in which generation our cells are growing. In batch culture, in log phase, cell number increases exponentially. The cell number increases exponentially at a constant maximum rate. In mathematical term, this can be represented as dx by dt is equal to mu into x, where x is the concentration of microbial biomass. T is the time in hours or minutes. Mu is the specific growth rate in per hour. Per hour. If we integrate between time 0 at time 0 and time t1, when the concentration of the cells are taken as x0 and x1. X is the number of concentration of the microbial biomass. So at time 0 you have the concentration of cell is x0. At time 1 we have x1 cells. So xt is equal to x naught into e to the power of mu t, where x naught is the original biomass concentration, xt is the biomass concentration after time interval. That depends on your choice at what time you want to identify the biomass concentration. And e is the base of the natural logarithm. On taking natural logarithm, then integral of xt is equal to integral of x naught plus mu t. So the mu is nothing but the slope of the graph by plotting the time on x-axis and the cell mass biomass on the y-axis, logarithm or integral of biomass on y-axis. So mu is equal to slope is equal to its integral change of x1 minus x naught divided by t1 minus t0. So by this you can calculate the specific growth per hour by using this formula. If you take the biomass, how it changes with the substrate concentration, here at time 0, the substrate concentration will be very high, but the biomass will be very less. And after the cell prepare itself for the cell division, cell number increases and the cell biomass also increases. So A to B is your logarithmic phase, it is in exponential phase, it is increasing, and in C to D the same biomass is maintained. Because of the nutrition depletion in batch culture. It's a closed culture, there is no supplementation of the nutrient, the same number of cells will be maintained, and here you'll get the plateau level. And this, the growth dependent or the specific growth dependence on the substrate concentration is given by the monad model. Here they have taken the substrate concentration on the x-axis and specific growth on the y-axis. When the microorganisms start dividing, the biomass increases, growth takes place, and it will attain the particular value, maximum value will be attained, and at that it is considered as the mu max or the maximum growth. So maximum growth is the mu max that will be the maximum, that is the growth is maximum for that microorganism at that substrate concentration. Here next is you are taking the specific growth rate mu, that can be determined like mu is equal to mu max or mu m into S. S is substrate concentration, or it may be essential nutrient concentration, divided by Ks. Ks is the substrate utilization constant. So this substrate utilization constant will tell you whether you have to use the less substrate or the more substrate depending on the Ks value. So Ks is the substrate utilization constant. This Ks can be defined as it is the substrate concentration at which specific growth rate is exactly half of the maximum growth. So that will give you the Ks, or the substrate utilization constant. So the monad model will tell you how the specific growth can be calculated using the substrate concentration. That is, mu is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks plus S. Mu m is the maximum specific growth rate. S is the residual substrate concentration or the essential nutrient concentration. And Ks is the substrate utilization constant. So Ks can be defined as it is the substrate utilization constant, or else it is the substrate concentration at which specific growth is exactly half of the mu m or mu max. Okay. Next, so to summarize, in batch culture we get the typical curve like this: lag phase, log phase, stationary phase, and death phase. So in lag phase, cell adopt a new environment, no or very little growth is observed. So lag phase, as soon as you inoculate the microorganism, the cells will not divide. So they may show or they may not show the growth. If they show, even it will be very less growth will be observed. So net specific growth rate will be 0. In case of the log phase, now cells are matured, now they'll undergo repeated division in exponential way, growth achieve its maximum because substrate concentration is very high, and this maximum growth will be attained till particular time interval. Now mu net is equal to mu max. So maximum growth will be attained in the growth phase or the exponential phase because microorganism will be exposed to nutrients. Now stationary phase. In the stationary phase, growth ceases. The reason may be the depletion of the nutrient or the deposition of the autotoxic products, or both. Both may ceases the growth of the microorganism. At that time, mu net is equal to 0. And in the death phase or in the decline phase, cell loses viability and cell lysis takes place. Here the cell death rate is more than the cell formation. Otherwise the cell will not be viable due to the depletion of the nutrient. So the mu net will be less than 0. So this is the summary where how the specific growth rate will changes with the different phases of the microbial growth curve. Next, in growth kinetics in continuous culture. Exponential growth in batch culture may be prolonged by the addition of fresh media, provided that medium is designated to be substrate limiting. In case of the chemostat, where the biosensor senses the optimum essential nutrient concentration. So that is the signal that will send the spent out of the outlet, and it will draw the same volume of the fresh media inside the fermenter. So the concentration of the limiting substrate is very, very important in changing the fresh media. If the vessel is designed with an overflow mechanism such that added media displaced an equal volume of spent media. So when the fresh media comes inside, then the same amount of spent will be collected out of the fermenter. Then continuous culture of the cells can be achieved. So by this, you can maintain the log phase of the cell continuously. Continuous growth phase of the cell can be maintained. A steady state will be achieved if the medium is fed continuously at a suitable rate. So this dilution rate plays an important role in maintaining the same growth rate, same exponential phase for time period. That is, formation of the new biomass by the culture is balanced by the loss of biomass from the vessel. When you are removing the spent, you are adding the same volume of the fresh media. If that dilution rate is maintained inside the fermenter, the biomass can be maintained inside the fermenter. The flow of the medium is related to the volume of the vessel by the dilution rate. The rate at which the fresh media flows inside the fermenter depends on the volume of the fermenter, and that is given by the dilution rate. Dilution rate is the F divided by V. where F is the flow rate, the rate at which media flows inside the fermenter. It is usually measured liter per hour. And V is the volume. It is playing an important role in determining the dilution rate and achieving the maximum biomass inside the bioreactor. In continuous culture, net change in cell concentration over time may be expressed as dx by dt is equal to growth minus output, or dx by dt. Growth is nothing but mu and x, mu multiplied with x. So mu is the specific growth rate and the x is the biomass, minus output. Output is the dilution rate at which the microbial media is going out along with the cells. So D into X. Under steady state conditions, the cell concentration remains constant. So when you maintain the particular dilution rate for the maximum growth, the cell concentration remain constant. dx by dt is equal to 0 and mu max will be equivalent to dx. Then mu will be equivalent to d is equal to d. A continuous culture may be operated at dilution rate below the maximum specific growth rate, and so within certain limits the dilution rate may be used to control the growth rate of the culture. The rate at which we are providing the nutrient and removing the spent will limit or control the growth of the microorganism. Cell growth in such continuous culture is controlled by availability of the growth limiting substrate, and the system is referred to as chemostat. If you are maintaining the particular dilution rate based on the essential nutrient concentration or based on the limiting substrate concentration, then it is called as chemostat. At the same time, if the cell growth in continuous culture is controlled by the turbidity of the media, then it is called as turbidostat. The mechanism underlying the controlling effect of the dilution rate is expressed in the Monod equation. Mu is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks plus S. At steady state, mu is equal to capital D. Mu is equal to capital D. Therefore, D is equal to mu max into steady state concentration of the substrate divided by Ks plus steady state concentration of the substrate in case of the chemostat. So here in chemostat, we are considering the concentration of the limiting substrate to change the nutrient. But in case of the turbidostat, we take the turbidity, optimum turbidity inside the fermenter to change the media or to take out the spent and to add fresh media inside the fermenter. Next, we learn about primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Till now, we learned growth kinetics in batch culture and how the specific growth rate changes in the different phases of the cell growth in the batch culture. And we also learned the kinetics in case of the continuous culture, in case of chemostat. Now we are moving to primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. So these are the curves which are showing the production of primary metabolites and the secondary metabolite. So curve A is showing the production of primary metabolite. Curve B is showing the production of the secondary metabolite. Primary metabolites are the metabolites which are produced by the microorganism, and they are very produced by the microorganism during the growth phase or the exponential phase of the cell growth, and they are very important for the cell growth and development. This includes amino acids, enzymes, proteins, nucleotides. What all is required for cell to maintain its cell growth and development, those are considered as primary metabolites, and the metabolic pathway which producing the primary metabolites are called as primary metabolic pathway. And next is secondary metabolites. These are the metabolites which are produced by the microorganism under extreme environmental condition, and they are not required for the normal growth and development. Only to overcome the extreme environmental condition, microorganisms secrete very small concentration of the group of molecules. They are called as the secondary metabolites, and these secondary metabolites are having the pharmaceutical importance, and they include the antibiotics, the flavonoids, pigments, etc. So to overcome the extreme environmental condition, so the products or the metabolites which are produced by the microorganisms are called as the secondary metabolites. Next is effect of substrate on cell growth and product formation. Growth results by the consumption of the substrate and excretion of microbial products. Growth results by consumption of the substrate by the microorganism and excretion of the microbial desired product. Or along with our desired product, the cell can also produce other metabolites which are necessary for maintaining the growth of the microorganism. At the same time, growth ceases due to depletion of the essential nutrients or accumulation of the autotoxic products, or in some condition both. Depletion of the essential nutrient will also inhibit the growth of the microorganism. At the same time, accumulation of the autotoxic products will also inhibit the growth of the microorganism. Next is effect of substrate concentration or growth can be explained by Monod's equation. We have seen this Monod's equation from past so many slides. So the Monod's equation will relate the specific growth rate is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks plus S. It is the homologue of Michaelis-Menten equation, where this is the curve and Ks is the saturation constant or substrate utilization constant. It is nothing but the specific growth rate at which the maximum half of the maximum growth is achieved. So that is the substrate concentration at which the specific growth is exactly equal to the half of the maximum growth. At high substrate concentration, microbial growth rate is inhibited by substrate. Not only the product or not only the toxic substances will inhibit the growth of the microorganism. When cells are exposed to a nutrient-rich media, that also will inhibit the growth of the microorganism. The substrate inhibition of the growth may be competitive or non-competitive. Non-competitive substrate inhibition can be explained or can be calculated by using the formula mu is equal to mu max divided by 1 plus Ks divided by S into 1 plus S divided by Ki. If Ki is greater than Ks, then mu is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks plus S plus substrate concentration S to the power of square divided by Ki. Next is competitive substrate inhibition can be calculated using the formula mu is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks into 1 plus S divided by Ki plus S. Substrate inhibition may be removed or alleviated by slow intermittent addition of substrate to the growth media. How can we overcome the substrate inhibition? By slow addition of the substrate into the fermenter can overcome the substrate inhibition on the product or the growth. Next is effect of product on cell growth and product formation. More concentration of product in the media will inhibit the growth of the microorganism. This is called feedback inhibition. In series of enzyme catalyzed reaction of the metabolic pathway, the final product synthesized when it is produced in optimum concentration, required concentration by the cell, the final product itself will inhibit the substrate uptake, or it will inhibit the first enzymatic transformation. This is called as feedback inhibition. The cell, when it is undergoing cell division or when it is viable and when it is growing, it will not synthesize the required biomolecules or the metabolites in large quantity, and it will not store inside the cell. It will synthesize the required metabolites at the particular concentration and it will be utilizing it. So that is a very beautiful the mechanism by the cell where each and every metabolite will be synthesized freshly at the optimum concentration and it will be utilized. The best example is feedback inhibition of ATPase, aspartate transcarbamylase in the nucleotide synthesis, that is CTP, cytidine triphosphate. Here, carbamyl phosphate combines with aspartate in the presence of the enzyme ATPase, it gets converted into N-carbamyl aspartate. It will be converted into N-carbamyl aspartate. This will undergo series of enzymatic transformation and there is synthesis of cytidine triphosphate. When the required optimum concentration of the cytidine triphosphate is synthesized inside the cell, CTP itself will send the signal, will inhibit the ATPase not to combine or utilize carbamyl phosphate and aspartate to transform into N-carbamyl aspartate. So this is an example for the product inhibition, that is the feedback inhibition. High concentration of the product can be inhibitory on the microbial growth. The product inhibition could be like competitive or non-competitive. When underlying mechanisms are not known, the inhibited growth rate is approximated to exponential or linear decay expressions. Non-competitive product inhibition can be calculated. Mu specific growth rate is equal to mu max divided by 1 plus Ks divided by S into 1 plus P divided by Kp. Kp is the product inhibition constant. Similarly, competitive product inhibition can be calculated. Mu is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks into 1 plus P divided by Kp plus S. P is the product concentration. Kp is the product inhibition constant. Next is Luedeking-Pert model. During the synthesis of the polysaccharides like xanthan, cordula, scleroglucan, dextran, pullulan, etc., growth and product formation can be described quantitatively. Quantitative estimation of growth and product is possible by Luedeking-Pert model. It is given by the equation dp by dt is equal to alpha into dx by dt plus beta into x. P is the product concentration. X is the concentration of cell. T is the time. Alpha and beta are the mass transfer coefficients. Alpha and beta are mass transfer coefficient for secondary metabolite and the primary metabolites respectively. In large scale fermentations, when there is marked increase in the viscosity, that means when the microorganism is producing the polysaccharide, viscosity of the media increases. When the viscosity increases in large scale fermentation, it inhibits the mixing or the agitation of the media. The stirring rate decreases. When the viscosity increases, the agitation of the media will become very difficult. This results in the reduction in the mass transfer efficiency. The cells will not be homogeneously, when the cells are not homogeneously agitated, the cells will not be in the homogeneous contact with the nutrient, due to which the formation of the polymer or the polysaccharide of heterogeneous quality will be resulted. That means the cells which are there in vicinity or in contact with the nutrient will absorb more nutrient and they produces the more polysaccharide, and cells which are away from the nutrient cannot absorb the nutrient due to the high viscosity and the less agitation in the fermenter, they produces less polymer or the less polysaccharide will be produced. So this results in heterogeneous quality of the bioproduct. Next we'll move on to kinetic models for microbial cell growth. So here we are assessing the specific growth by considering either the cell mass or the cell growth or the cell population as a whole, by considering the cell mass as a whole, or else you are assessing the specific growth rate by considering the single cell. Inside the single cell also you are considering the spatial arrangement of the organelles or the spatial occurrence of the metabolic reaction inside the cell, plasma membrane, protein synthesizing system. All those, each and every compartment will be studied and growth rate will be assessed. If you are determining the specific growth rate using the cell population as a whole, then it is called as unstructured model, or it is called as unsegregated model. Unstructured model or unsegregated model. Suppose you are assessing the microbial cell growth or specific growth rate by taking each and every component separately, like the cell growth, cell size, cell total number of cell, like you're taking the single cell into consideration, and you're taking the active compartment and the inactive compartment. Active compartment may include your protein synthesizing system, RNA content, ribosome, or the metabolic pathway or the genetic material. So each and every component will be assessed to identify or to calculate the specific growth rate. Then it is called as segregated kinetic model. This is also called as structured model. This is also called as structured model. Now we'll see few kinetic models. Monod model. We all know how the specific growth rate can be assessed using the substrate concentration. It is an example for unstructured and unsegregated model. Here, as I told earlier, specific growth rate entirely depends on the essential substrate concentration. So this is given by mu is equal to mu max into S divided by Ks plus S. So mu is specific growth rate and Ks is saturation constant or substrate utilization constant. S is the limiting substrate concentration or essential nutrient concentration. Okay. What are the limitations of the monad model? When substrate concentration is very high, mu will be mu max. The maximum growth takes place because all the cells start utilizing the nutrient and the maximum growth is achieved. And monad model fails to explain the specific growth when substrate concentration is zero. When substrate is completely utilized, is there any change with the specific growth rate? Cannot be explained by the monad model and does not take care of the death phase. It will not explain the change of the growth in the death phase. At the same time, it does not take care of the inhibition effect. So those are the limitations of the monad model, that is an unstructured model where it will not explain the specific growth when the substrate concentration is nil or it is completely utilized, and in the death phase how the specific growth rate change will not be explained by the monad model. Next, a few structured models for the product formation or the cell growth. First one compartment model. It's a simple structured model where biomass is divided into few compartments like membrane materials, inactive components with central role of protein synthesizing system. So the membrane will be considered as the inactive component and the protein synthesizing system is considered as the active component. Though protein synthesizing system consists of many enzymes, it also contains ribosomes, which contain 60% of the ribosomal RNA and 40% of the ribosomal protein. So when you take the ribosome, 60% is the ribosomal RNA. Here they are assessing, or the specific growth rate is determined by considering the stable RNA content. By calculating or estimating the stable RNA content of each microorganism, you can assess the specific growth rate. You plot the RNA content of the microorganism on the x-axis and the specific growth on the y-axis. You will get the corresponding specific growth rate depending on the stable RNA content of the microorganism. Next is two compartment model. Nielsen et al. Presented this for the lactic acid bacteria. As the name suggests, this model has two compartments. Active compartment contain protein synthesizing system and small building blocks. Small monomeric biomolecules are also incorporated in the active compartment. Structural and genetic compartment containing rest of the cell material is incorporated in the other compartment. So here it is considering both protein synthesizing system and the structural and genetic compartment in the another compartment. So continuation with this is the single cell model. This is an extension of compartment model but considers many cellular functions like cell geometry and spatial arrangement of intracellular events, etc. So that is single cell model. So in each cell they are considering the cell geometry to assess the specific growth rate. At the same time, spatial arrangement of the events or the microbial metabolic events which takes place inside the cell will be considered. Next is molecular mechanistic model. There are two types. One is gene transcription model. As the name suggests, it takes place at the molecular level. Here, gene transcription model, rate of transcription is a measure of promoter function. If you want the particular gene to be transcribed, then the promoter gets upregulated. If you want less a transcription, then promoter will be downregulated. The best example is lack promoter of E. coli. Next is pathway model. Individual enzymatic reactions of the pathway is described. Individual enzymatic reactions of the pathway is described. Example, the best example is glycolysis of yeast. Much information is available with the enzyme regulation in the glycolysis. Thank you.